Hey guys, welcome to the Top Percentile. My name is Anay Dave and I scored a rank of 9 in CET 2020. Today, there are 7 days left for the final exam that you will be taking in CET 21, which the dates are finally out and we are gunning for you guys to score as high as you can. But today, we've had a lot of requests on how to increase your marks in the last 7 days and also how to mark guesses in the paper. So today, these are the two things that we'll be looking at. And as someone who loves finance, the best thing I can do is make a model out of it. So I'll just share my Excel screen so that we can look at that and judge how things are going, right? So this is the basic thing that I've made over here. The two questions that we'll be trying to answer are how to increase your score in the next 7 days and how to make educated guesses in the paper. Now, to explain why this is really important, why educated guess is extremely important in the paper, is this model. This is what I want to show mainly, right? So usually when you look at the topper, they are, when you ask anyone out of the 6 of us, we've usually attempted 160 questions genuinely. That is how our mocks go. That is how our scores are usually. That's the range that you are expecting. Sometimes it goes to 117 mocks, but on average, you'll be at the 160 or the 150 level. But 160 is what I'm taking over here. Now, my accuracy in the exam used to be 80%. So if I take an accuracy of 80% and put it on a 160, the score I'll be getting is a 128. Now, a score of 128 is not going to be enough to get me into JBIMS unless everyone else has not marked everything. This is assuming I've not marked any of the flukes, right? Mundi saying I've got a score of 128 and that is not going to be enough to get me into any college, into JBIMS, which is the main college that I'm trying for. So when it comes to that, this is not my aim. My aim cannot be scoring a 128. What can I do over here? Can I increase the number of genuine attempts that I have? Usually, yes. In 7 days, probably not. The reason I'm saying probably not is because when you look at genuine attempts, it is basically a function of your understanding and your knowledge of the topics that are there. So if there are many topics that you've not done, the number of genuine attempts are going to be lesser. If you're someone who's attempting around 100 questions and cannot do more, the reason behind that is because you don't have the knowledge to do more. And in the next 7 days, it's going to be very difficult to cover the next 100 questions that are there. But if you're someone who's already attempting 120, 130, 140, 150, 160 questions accurately, then there are other things that you need to focus on. And that's what we'll be looking at now. If you're attempting 160 questions and you have an accuracy of 80%, you're getting 128 marks. If I reduce this to 70%, you get 112 marks. You get only 112 marks. So that's a 16 mark reduction that is there right there because of a direct drop in your accuracy. So when even the live yesterday that we had, a lot of you had asked me questions about this, about how should you increase your marks in the next 7 days. The first thing that you need to do is wonder whether you can increase your genuine attempts. What can you do? There are certain places where you can easily increase your genuine attempts. For example, if you've not done DI or if you're leaving Quant on purpose, there are many easy subjects that you can just pick up, many easy chapters that you can just pick up and finish off in probably a couple of hours, especially in arithmetic quant, or even if you're scared of DI and you've not been taking DI because of that, then there are lots of things that you can do in that. Or the other thing that you can do is traditional logic. In traditional logic, there are so many questions that so many subjects that you can just solve within a few hours and actually gain mastery in that. So this would be something like direction sense or something like syllogisms. I think it's pretty easy to at least get some amount of mastery in that so that you can solve questions that are there. Then your genuine attempts will go up, right? So the first thing that I suggest you to do to increase your marks is to increase your genuine attempts. But considering it is 7 days away, this is not going to be the best strategy for all of you. The best strategy for most of you will be increasing your accuracy, right? If I have an accuracy of 70% and if I have an accuracy of 60%, all with 160 attempts, look at the difference in marks. Not scoring above 100 because I have such a low accuracy in the questions that I'm actually attempting properly. And if I have an accuracy of 60%, am I really solving the question properly? Am I really doing it correctly overall? Because there are so many questions that you can just solve properly. Your accuracy should be upwards of 70%. Your first aim has to be taking it to that point. And the point I'm trying to make over here is that if you are attempting a question, it should be right. You should keep that one thing in mind, that try to reduce the mistakes that you're making. The silly mistakes that you make or the questions that you read wrong. So this could be something like you've calculated something wrong. So you need to work on your calculations, or you've read a question wrong and you've answered something altogether different, or you've marked an option wrong for some reason after solving it correctly. Everything that is there, these are genuine attempts that you should be getting right that you're getting wrong. So that's why this figure could be lower for you, because if you have the knowledge, if you have knowledge worth 160, 140, how much ever you are at right now, just know that your accuracy is going to make a much bigger difference to your score now, right? So first thing I'd say, try increasing genuine attempts. If not, increase your accuracy. When you increase your accuracy, there'll be a big improvement on your genuine attempts that are there. But as I mentioned, my accuracy was around 80%, 70 to 80%. It's there in all my mock scores that you can see. So it's there on a Telegram group. Anyone can download that. You'll find the link in the description box. And my genuine attempts were around 160. Sometimes we used to go to 170, sometimes 150, as I mentioned earlier. Now that gives me a score of only 128. Even if I'm doing this much, even if I'm reaching 180, 160 questions and 80% accuracy and getting a score of 128, this is far away from the 149 that I scored in the final exam. And it's far away from the 150 that guaranteed would get you an admission in JB. This is still, I'm just saying 150 because in the history of the past, it's always been 150 means JB seat. I'm not saying you have to aim for only 150. If you're getting a 180, if you're getting a 160, get it. Nothing like that. Show us how high you can go. We'd love to see higher scores and higher people. It just will be amazing if you can break that. But the point is, the 149 that I scored, the 150 that people have scored, the TTP has scored to get into JBIMS, that's not what got us there. Now, if you look at this part of it, there are 200 questions in the paper. I'm attempting 160 of them genuinely. There are 40 questions that I'm leaving. There are 40 marks that I'm leaving behind, which I do not know the answers to. Now, the reasons, why do I not know the answers to this? It's probably because I've not done the chapter. It's probably because I don't know how to solve it, which is again kind of like not doing the chapter. But many times you know how to do the chapter, but not that particular question. So I don't know how to do it, or there's not enough time to do it. Now in CET, the third option is very common because the questions are, you won't find too many new question types that are there. You'll just find similar question types coming, and it is on you to solve it, whether you decide it or not to solve it on that day. So it's your decision on the day of the exam whether you solve it or not. So that day, the function of flukes and genuine will be how much you think is possible to solve in the 2.5 hours that you have. In the 150 minutes, it's your decision how much you are solving. It's like papers, it's like questions are thrown to you and you need to pick out the easy ones and solve them, right? You need to pick out what you want to do and what you want to leave behind. So that's why these 40 questions that are there, I used to personally leave them mainly because I did not want to spend time on them, or I thought they were too difficult to be solved within the time that CET is permitting me, right? So that's why I used to decide that if I'm not able to do it, it's better to just leave it. Now, when I used to leave it, I would not just leave it. In every interview so far, I've always mentioned that do not mark flukes, do not mark answers, just keep going with what you're doing, right? I've always said that just see what your actual score is, because I wanted you to see how far you can stretch this. So during the last week, I have not attempted flukes, I've not attempted educated guesses in my paper. You won't see 200 attempts in my mock sheet unless since the last 1-2 weeks that are there. That otherwise I've really not been attempting otherwise. But now, since it's the last week and since admit cards have already come out for other other CET exams, MBA CET is still not out at the time of this recording, which is 7 p.m. on the 8th of September. So it's still not out, but it might be out by the time you're watching this. So I do not have the news on that. But the point is, if you are able to increase or score more in this, you get a much higher score. And that's what I'm trying to show with this model made here. So assuming 160 mock, 160 genuine attempts, what is left? 40 questions. Now, there are 5 options that come in CET. 5 options means 20% probability if I mark randomly. If I'm able to eliminate one option, I have 1 in 4, so that's 25% probability. If I eliminate one more option, that's 1 in 3, 33% probability. And if I eliminate 3 options, I have 2 options left, I get a 50% probability. Now, what I want you to notice over here is that when I attempt 40, when I fluke 40 with a 20% accuracy, I get 8 marks. This is just random probability. I'm not saying you will 100% get 8 marks, but probability states that you have a chance of, the expected value is 8. So you would get 8 marks expected in this. And your total from that would come to 136. If I'm able to attempt one option in each question and get the probability to 25%, I'm getting 10 marks. 2 marks extra earlier, it's not a big gap. But as I go ahead, as I go further into 3 options and 2 options, my score directly goes from a 128 into the 140s. It goes to a 141 and a 148. And I think most of you, if you are able to make educated guesses and do it properly, it requires a lot of practice and a lot of thinking on the last day. You would be somewhere in this category. It would be either be a 138 or a 141. A 148 is obviously very difficult because you cannot reduce every question to 2 options and get 20 marks in 40 questions. That would be unreal. Although if I have to go with how much I scored a 149. So I think there was a lot of normalization that must have happened, but I do know my genuine attempts are around 170 as well. So if I go to a 170 with the same data, it goes higher than what I'd scored, right? So what I'm trying to show over here is that when you are able to go to this point, when you're able to go to the 50% or the 33% or the 25% as well, if you're able to eliminate a couple of options and solve, you are able to get a much better score out of the same attempts that you've taken. You are attending 160 questions. You are not doing anything different. You are attending 160 questions. You are keeping the same accuracy that is there. But by taking educated guesses, you are increasing your score just because you have studied, just because you are smarter in solving the other 40 questions that you're leaving. Now I can do the same. If someone is at 170, I can basically just put 170 here and you can just run this. It's a pretty easy Excel model to make. Anyone can just try this and just run it whenever they want to. It's not very difficult, but look at how the numbers change. You get lesser marks from flukes now because you attempted more questions. So you got only 15 marks, earlier you got 20 marks. But the fun thing over here is if I make it a 140, there are 60 questions that I'm leaving behind. Now 60 questions that I'm leaving behind. Look at, I'm getting 112 genuinely because genuine score is 112 because I have an 80% accuracy. Not bad, but look at this. I'm getting a 30% increase only by marking flukes or making educated guesses by eliminating options or by being smart about how I selected. So this word fluke that I've written over here, fluke is a random occurrence. But when you do this, if you're able to bring it to a 1 by 1 in 3 or a 1 in 2 chance, you are not attempting flukes. These are genuine guesses that you're making. These are educated guesses based on facts that you're making. You are using logic to get this score. So then look at you. From 112, 140 attempts with 80% accuracy, from 112, you are going right there to a 132 and a 142. That's where you need to be. You're getting 30 marks extra only based on educated guesses that you would not be taking otherwise. Like this is just based on that. Had you not been trying to eliminate options, you'd be scoring 12 marks. You've increased that to 8. You've increased that by 18 to 30. That's the power of this that you're trying to do. I'll explain how to make educated guesses in this video as well, in this video later ahead. But the point is, that's how you have to try to do this. That's the idea behind this. So just to answer the first question again, how do you increase your score in the next few days? Increase your genuine attempts. Very difficult to do because you probably have not left too many chapters at this point. If you're someone who's attempting 100, 120 questions, there will be something that you can improve. But if you're scoring or if you're attempting around 160, you cannot do much over there. Increase your accuracy. Increase your accuracy instead. You need to get that 80% accuracy. Aim for a 75 to 80% accuracy because traditional logic, the basic things, basic arithmetic and all of this, you should not get wrong. You should not get these things wrong. Even fill in the blanks, basic grammar that is there. These should not be going wrong. You should be aiming for 100% accuracy in all of these topics that are there. Puzzles, critical reasoning, they will all take your accuracy down. In fact, puzzles, you should be pretty accurate in puzzles. If you're spending time on it, you should get 5 on 5. So ideally your puzzle accuracy should be high. It just takes a lot more time. NPM will be low in puzzles, but your accuracy will be high in puzzles. Whereas in traditional logic, your NPM will be high and your accuracy will be high. So think about it that way, where you're going with accuracy and NPM. Shreekanth had made a full slide on this if you watch our first, our second webinar on mock analysis. But if you're a CET'22 aspirant, watch it right now. If you're a CET'21 aspirant, it's okay. Focus on what I'm telling you in this video itself. So how do you increase your marks? Genuine attempts increase your accuracy. If you've done all of this, go for the fluke, go for the genuine attempts part, go for the genuine guesses part, where you're going into this category, the last 3 categories that are there and increasing everything that you do. So in case someone's at 150, again, look at how the numbers will change. You get a 25% increase if you're able to reduce it to 2. Now, I'm not saying this is easy. I'm not saying it is achievable. I'm telling you, you'll be in one of these 2 brackets most of the times, but that is something still much better. 137 is better than 130. 133 is also better than 130. At every stage, you are doing much better. At every stage, even a couple of marks more could probably be 1,000 places ahead, 100 places ahead, or even 2-3 places ahead. That makes a difference in whether you get into JB or Sidnem or whichever college that you get into later. So that's the difference, and that's the advantage of doing this, right? Now, I think that's all I have to explain in this model part. I'll come to the topic so I can explain a little more about how you make the decisions in each section of this. in each section that is there. I'll just keep a couple of slides in case my face covers the screen. I'm not sure how much of the screen it's taking up. But these are basically the main topics that are there in your CET. In logical reasoning, you have puzzles, traditional and critical reasoning. I have put input output into puzzles. I have tried to just keep it as simple as possible because after a point it becomes very complicated. In abstract reasoning or visual, you have series and analogy. You get a lot more types, but those types they have not come in CET so far, at least in the last 2 years that we've seen the papers, they've not come. So that's why I'm focusing on series and analogy. When it comes to VARC, these are the main types. I'm sure I missed a couple of them because VARC has a lot of types. These are the ones I want to focus on, at least discuss on how to reduce your options here or how to make guesses here. And in QADI, you have arithmetic and DI. In arithmetic, you have a lot of things. You also have number system. Like if I have to go on with the list, you have number system, you have modern math, a lot more things. In fact, I can add modern math if you want, but modern math is something that people usually don't study. So I don't want to add that here. So we'll take one thing at a time and I'll tell you how to go about it, how to at least reduce a couple of options. I'm saying that you cannot always reduce options, but you can reduce a couple of options that are there. So when you come to logical reasoning, we are looking at puzzles first. Puzzles are quite difficult to make random guesses in. You cannot just make guesses, but if you have put in some data, look, when is the time when you're going to make guesses in puzzles? You'll make educated guesses in puzzles when you spend 3 minutes on it. Remember the 3-minute rule, guys. 3 minutes on one set of puzzle. If you're not able to solve it, go ahead. If you think you'll be able to solve it in the next couple of minutes, solve it and go ahead. Solve it and then go ahead, right? So 3-minute rule is just that. But when will you mark guesses? You'll mark guesses at the end of the paper when you do not have any more time to give to the puzzle, correct? When you know that even if you spend 10 minutes on it, nothing is going to happen. Even if you firstly, do not spend 10 minutes on a puzzle. That is just an example. But even if you spend a couple more minutes on it, you're not going to get it. And it makes more sense to use this time somewhere else and on some other questions, right? So when you're looking at puzzles, essentially you're looking at a set of statements that are there. And the statements will have options that should eliminate each other. Just keep this in mind. Now, when you are making a puzzle, try making the initial outline of it. Even if you have a couple of minutes left and you know that this is not going to happen, let's say you have 5 minutes left and one puzzle is all that is left, but you know you can't solve it. You've attempted everything else in the paper. It's just the puzzle that is left and you have 5 minutes left. So you make the basic outline of it. You write down all the rules that are there. Write down, when I say write down, I mean draw the rules, draw it into the form. If it's a linear, if you're leaving a puzzle, it'll be something a miscellaneous type with family relation, blood relation, something like that. So in that, you'll make the family tree at least. You'll try using the tricks that we've told you on how to solve family tree faster. This is available in our course. And I think the main thing that you're doing is gender. So just try using that to solve it faster. But essentially, you're making the outline. Based on the outline, look at the 5 questions that they've asked you. Whether they asked 5 questions, 4 questions, 6 questions, whatever is there. Look at the number of questions that they've asked and see whether based on the outline given and based on the facts that you've read otherwise, are you able to eliminate options or not? And if you are able to eliminate options, write across. If it's a 110th question, write 110th, cancel B, cancel C, whatever it is. Just because it's a puzzle, I'm telling you to do this because you're attempting 5 questions at once and you're trying to guess you're trying to make educated guesses everywhere. So once you're done with that, what happens is many times there'll be 1 question or 2 questions where there'll be only 2 or 3 options left. Now, when one question has 2 options and another question has 2 options left, try combining the data and the 2 options. Try making cases within the two puzzles, 2 options, 2 questions that are there, and see whether you can find one case that builds the entire thing out. Now, I am only suggesting this if you have nothing else to do, and just remember that there is nothing else to do. There is a puzzle. Firstly, puzzle is not a make or break section as shown by Aditya in all the videos that he's been in. He has scored rank 5 and he's attempted 1 puzzle in the exam. So do not think that puzzle is the make or break thing. It is the final score. If you get a final score, you make it. If you don't, you break it. That's it. It's a final score, not puzzles. But if you're able to eliminate options using this, I think then you are able to get you'll at least increase the probability of getting it right. Even if you're able to break it down to 2 cases or 3 cases that are there, I'm not saying draw the entire case, but at least in your head, keep what is possible, what is not possible, where what is going, at least with a small outline, you should be able to make sure that things are going right. So that's what I have to say on puzzles. Now coming to traditional logic, I think traditional logic is something where accuracy should be higher. You should be getting these answers. You should be getting all the answers here. This is your blood relation. This is your numbers here. This is your series. This is your direction sense. This is your anything that you can think of, whatever is out of the book, the queuing thing that is there, any normal chapter that is there. I think any the sequence, and you have to find out which is which, how many times a number is before a letter, etc., etc. Everything that is there. These require presence of mind. You just have to sit there, read the question, and solve it. If a new set comes, if a new type of question comes, sit there, read the question, read it nicely, solve it. Most of the times you will not require needing guesses or educated guesses here, because that is not the type of questions that they ask. These are usually much easier. It is something that if you've practiced, you will be able to solve on the last day. Traditional logic does not require educated guesses. You should be able to solve all of it 100% properly. In case you're not able to, again, eliminate options. If in blood relation you do it, look at gender, look at the generations, solve it, go ahead. Just keep all that in mind. These are just a few pointers that I'm giving. Because 7 days are left, I'm just trying to help you guys as much as I can with all the information there. But the main idea over here is just solve it. You'll be able to think through it and solve it. Logical reasoning does not require any more than just thinking with your presence of mind at that point. Just remember that. When it comes to critical reasoning, on the other hand, this is more like this is gambling. This is basically gambling. I'll just write critical here. Sorry. So you know that just to explain it better. But when it comes to critical reasoning, this is somewhere where your accuracy is going to be lower. And even if you spend 2 minutes on it, you are not going to get it right. You're probably going to increase your accuracy from a 60% to a 70% by spending 4 minutes on it. But does that make sense? No, it doesn't. So keep the time to a short constraint, but eliminate options. So one thing that I suggest when you look at these questions, and what I've heard from mentors and everyone, lots of teachers also suggest this, it is to think like a question setter. When I'm making a critical reasoning, if I had to make a critical reasoning set myself, and my question stated, find the assumption. Two of the options would be inferences. One option would be a conclusion. One option would be the assumption, and something else would be, just a strong and weak argument that just goes along with the statement, a forward statement of the statement above. So when I'm doing this, what they're trying to see and what they're trying to trick you into is forgetting what the question has. Many times people believe a conclusion is the assumption. They're confused with what they are solving, and that is what the question setter is trying to do. That's why they give you questions like that. Because how else can you make a statement? When you're thinking of making a question, you will make other 4 statements that are like the first statement, but not like that, right? So it will be the same topic, but different. So the way they do it is by putting inferences, conclusions, and other things that will not be an assumption in case it's an assumption, correct? So what you need to do is start labeling options. If you see something and you know that it's not related to it, it's a forward statement, it's a conclusion, it is something else that is there. Just label that and go ahead and, label that and go to the next option that is there and try that out. Try figuring out what that is. Is that an inference? Is that an assumption? Is it a deduction? What is it? Go ahead and keep trying to eliminate this and try eliminating options going ahead. And that is what you have to do. But again, keep in mind, critical reasoning is a time sucker. It is going to take your time on the final day. You have to take care that your time is kept properly. You have to make sure that you maintain your time and the speed that you have decided. I'll be sharing a photo of a letter that I've written to myself on the final day of the exam. So that'll be there on our Telegram group and on our Instagram. So please follow us. Our Instagram is the _top_percentile. And our Telegram group will be in the description below. In fact, Instagram will also be there. So just reach out to us. You'll find it. Critical reasoning, that's about all I have to say. Remember that your accuracy is going to be low. I will always keep saying that your accuracy is going to be low. Marks per minute concept tells you give it less time, right? When it comes to visual reasoning or abstract reasoning, you are looking at 2 main types, series and analogy. Again, here it is very easy to eliminate options. You have to eliminate options, and all you have to do is look at which option does not follow. When it comes in series, there'll be a dot that is rotating 90 degrees or 270 degrees, 180 degrees. If you've solved even 5 questions of AR, you know what the type of questions are coming. That is how the questions are going to be in the CET paper. You will be in a lot more pressure. So remember that when you are eliminating options, keep in mind which options you've eliminated. Do not go wrong in that. Like, you've eliminated 3, 4, and 1, but then you end up marking 3. because you thought you've eliminated, you thought you've marked those as the right answers instead of the eliminated options, something like that. I'm just giving an example. But the point is, try keeping a track of what you're doing, because if you're reducing your accuracy after eliminating options, it's because you made a silly mistake. And that silly mistake should not cost you a seat in JB. Coming to the next part, analogy. Analogy, I don't have much else to add apart from what I've already added earlier. Eliminate options, to keep track of what you're eliminating. Find out parts that are moving. For anything in AR, sorry, I said artificial reasoning for some reason, but for any abstract reasoning concept or any question that comes, find parts that are moving, find parts that are common. Just that. There are a number of lines, number of circles, number of stars, number of squares, a pattern that is being followed. Just keep following that pattern, see whether it follows, and just see how it goes to the end, right? That's all I have to say. But make sure that this is done fast. I again said artificial. I've been saying AI and all of this pretty often recently. So, but your abstract, everything that you do, keep it fast. This is a time saver. You have to, it's a score maximizer. Just make sure you do it fast. Coming to a section that everyone reads, there are the two sections that everyone reads: your VARC, your verbal, and your quant. So I think in verbal and abstract, you do not have too many questions that you have too many educated guesses. You have to, either eliminate options or just take a fluke. And I mean fluke as a random option without any logic. But in QA and LR, there's a lot of scope for actually thinking and using logic. When it comes to vocab, I think what you need to do, if you know the words that are there in the options, if you know some words, eliminate those, whether you know they're right or not. If it is in the form of a statement, if it's vocab in an RC, then you need to fit it in the statement, right? Like if the word is pointers, or practice, let's take practice, and fit in the synonyms that are there or what you think it means into the statement, into the context of it, and try understanding what they're trying to say. That's all I can say for vocab. If you haven't learned vocab, that's all you can do. When it comes to RCs in CET, people do not spend too long on it. It is something that you finish within 10 to 12 minutes, and people finish it in 2 to 3 minutes. As well, I've seen people who do that, and they also make it to JB. So there's nothing like that, because everything else is stronger. Remember, if you're leaving RCs, you're leaving puzzles, you're leaving, let's say, critical reasoning, you're leaving quant, then there's no chance to get into JB. But if you're leaving only RCs, you're leaving only some parts of things, then there is a chance. When it comes to RCs, the main idea is to do it fast. Look at the context. What is the author trying to say? And try fitting in using your logic. क्या हो सकता है? Just थोड़ा पढ़ के देख लो क्या हो सकता है, क्या नहीं हो सकता है. वो logic तो आ ही जाएगा उससे. उसमें logic नहीं चाहिए. CAT की this is not like CAT. CAT requires you to think about what the author is saying in depth, what they mean. In CET, that's not the case. They are looking at abstract concepts in general from like a bird's eye view. So you start with the bird's eye view and answer the questions that are there. Coming to fill in the blanks, I think fill in the blanks, reading the sentence again and again with the filled in blank, knowing the grammar rules, that helps a lot. Again, eliminating options. Fill in the blanks, there are those questions where they give you A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then they'll give options like there are 3 sentences. Then they'll have something like D, A, B, B, D, C, and there'll be 7 or 4 options like this. And the D will fit into the first sentence, A will fit in the second sentence, B will fit into the third. Likewise, in the second option, B fits in the first, D second, C third. Like that, what you need to do in such cases is just figure out any one of them. Just figure out any one of them. Other options get eliminated. Then figure out the other statements. You just get your answer. You don't need to solve the entire fill in the blank. Just eliminate options, see what is common, eliminate the other options, solve that much. You are done. You don't need to solve everything that is there. Close test, since this is around 5 questions that come in a paragraph, you need to read it again and again. Grammar rules help a lot here. Eliminating options over here will be based on grammar rules. That's all I can say. Parajumbles, what you need to do in this case is you need to first understand, sorry, just give me a second. You need to understand how you need to, make decisions. Just give me a second. I'll just align everything so it's visible. Yeah. So in parajumbles, you need to understand how sentences are connected. When you make a paragraph, or when I am speaking right now, I am speaking in paragraphs, right? So when I speak in a paragraph, my earlier sentence links to the next one. The ideas that I build on link to the previous sentence. Previous sentence, that means there's something earlier. I am using context. I'm using contextual cues. I'm using other words. These are identifiers that are present in sentences which tell you that they are linking something else. If supposing, for example, I have something that says, he likes to read, and there has to be something that explains who he is, right? So there'll be another statement that says Anay Dave is XYZ. He likes to read. So obviously that is the order that you're going to follow. And this is a very simple example that I'm giving. No one will go wrong in this sentence. No one will say he likes to read Anay Dave is XYZ. But the idea is that you'll find a lot of these links, and you only need to look at that link to understand where the sentence is. But I did not have extremely high accuracy in this, but these are the tricks that I was using to eliminate options, because in parajumbles, the options help a lot. If you get the type where the parajumble is a full set, where one parajumble is there are 5 questions on it, you have to write down the series that you think it's got, that you think is possible, and then see whether the options are getting eliminated or not. Likewise, what you can do is, since the main thing in a parajumble is a sentence starter, there'll be one question that says, which of the following is the first sentence of the paragraph when it's properly placed. In that case, you just have to look at the 5 options that they've given. And if there are 6, 7 statements, you'll be able to eliminate options and try to use something from there. That's how you have to kind of focus on. But the main thing is finding the first sentence, then going ahead with linked sentences. That's the best way to do it, and eliminate options in the one where they give you the 5. They give you 5 options of series like A, B, C, D, A, B, C, E, A, B. Just 5 options. There, it becomes much easier to eliminate options, because you know that, okay, I think D starts the sentence. So every option that does not have D as the first one is out. When it comes to sentence error, I think what you can do is, since it's in parts, you know whether this part is right, this part is right, this part is right. You know whether 3 parts are right, 2 parts are not. It's one of the 2 parts. You kind of realize where the sentence error is. Like many times in subject-verb agreement grammar rules, it is either the subject or the verb that is going wrong. So you kind of know that these 2 are the only places where it can be wrong. So there you will already reduce to a 50% probability of getting it right or wrong. But if you've reached a point where you know what subject-verb agreement is, I suggest solve it. But that's my trick on this. Like, that's what I can suggest for sentence error. Just keep at it. If there are things that are missed out so far, if there are topics that you want some guidance on, please leave a comment about it. I don't remember the exact topics too much in depth when it comes to VARC and in depth of all these things. Is not solved paper in depth, but if there's anything, please leave it in the comment. I'll gladly answer it. Now, coming to the section that everyone has been waiting for, because actually, I don't know, engineers will be waiting for verbal, everyone else is waiting for quant. So coming to the section that all non-engineers are waiting for, quants. When it comes to quants, you need to remember that there are 50 questions. Out of these 50 questions, 25 you should be able to attempt, because these require easy math. And if it requires easy math and not much thinking, you should be able to solve it. That is where your accuracy comes into play, which is this photo, that this entire thing that I've said over here. Your accuracy needs to be high, because you want to get these things right. You want to make sure that the easy questions are not going wrong, at least that much that is it, right? So when it comes to arithmetic, you're looking at profit and loss. You're looking at anything that you see, time, speed, distance, any type of thing that just requires math and basic formula. That's arithmetic. When it comes to DI, you're looking at the data interpretation sets that are there. I'll come to that later. But when it comes to arithmetic, how do you eliminate options? I think here there is most scope for eliminating options because of numbers being divisible and divisibility rules that you need to know. For example, if I say that a car has traveled, let's say 300 meters in 45 seconds, how much will it travel in 11 seconds? Now I know that I'm using unitary method in this. I'm not even going to try to solve it, but I know that I'm trying to find out, let's say I've not even read the question, I've just read the second part. How much will it travel in 11 seconds? If it's going to travel in 11 seconds, assuming no decimals, in speed in decimals, but assuming no decimals, I know that my answer, how much will it travel, will be a multiple of time into speed. And my time is going to be 11 seconds. So my answer is going to be a multiple of 11. If I just go through the options and eliminate all options that are not divisible by 11, I should have lesser answers ready. Now, once I've done that, and if there are 3 options still remaining or 4 options still remaining, I'll look at the other factors that are there. If there is a factor of 7 that I can find, or there's a factor of 9 in the 45 that is there. So the 9 and the 45 will be divided, because I'm doing 11 into something divided by 45. So that 9 will not work, but the 300 or whatever number I mentioned earlier, I don't remember what I mentioned, that number will definitely play into factors on the top. So if you're able to get numerator factors that are there, you will be able to solve, at least eliminate options and get that fast. So what I'm suggesting over here is basically divisibility test to eliminate options. Second thing that I suggest over here is using options to solve questions. And this is something that is extremely beautiful, especially in arithmetic sets that are there. You look at the options, you put in values that give you those options, you should get the right answer because there'll be only one option that fits your entire question correctly. For example, if they give you a question about, again, time, speed, distance, about what speed would it need to travel at to complete X distance or whatever, there are lots of questions like this. Just read the options first. Read the options first and try to put the options in the data that you have. Reverse engineer the answer and you'll get it very fast. This is one of the best tricks that I had that I used to use in the final exam. This is what helped me get marks in a shorter amount of time because this is what I used to do. Just use options to solve the answer. And if that is not happening, eliminate options to get to what the answer is. So for arithmetic, that is what I have to suggest. One thing that I'm not added here is modern math. So I'll just explain that. Modern math is your PNCs, permutation combinations, your probability that is there, all of that. This is usually tougher. This is usually a little more complicated. So that's why I've not added that as a separate point. But when it comes to modern math, most of you, from what I know and what the questions are being asked, most of you are going to leave this as a genuine fluke. Genuine fluke, because you are going to mark it randomly and you won't think about it. But again, at the same time, I think if you can try to eliminate options using what I've mentioned earlier, divisibility test, or at least some logic that you've used in probability, you might be able to solve it in a shorter amount of time, or at least eliminate a couple of options because that is your aim. Your aim is to reach an answer or probably reach an answer, but not 20% probability. Do not go ahead marking B, 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 B everyone blindly. Try to do this. You will increase your marks by a lot. I'll come back to that point, but coming to DI, which is the last point that I have to talk about here. DI comes in various types. There are many DI sets that require a lot more thinking than the others, but most of the times you will require something which has ratios. You will require something that has addition, subtraction, but ratios are the most common. There'll be growth numbers that are needed to find ratio of year 10 upon year 1 or year 10 upon year 9 or blue upon green, something or the other. Will always be ratios. So the first thing you have to do is try to reduce your numbers to ratios that become easy to calculate. If you've got something like 24,000 and 36,000, reduce it to a 2:3. Try finding out all the numbers in the 2:3 because that'll make it a lot easier to find ratios. Reducing to factors makes it always a lot easier. Likewise, if in a DI set, if you have to add a lot of data, try looking at the options first and see whether there are options that are repeating. For example, if I have a DI set and the numerator totals up, like I'm adding, so the question is, what is the ratio of sum of X from 2014 to 2018 to the sum of Y from 2014 to 2018? Now, I look at the options and all of them are ratios. So I have 5 different options of ratios. Now I notice that the number 441 is there in numerators twice, right? And I notice that every year as a numerator is different. Now I notice the denominator, everywhere the denominator is completely different. So if I do the numerator first, if I add up the numerator first in this particular question, what is going to happen? I'll get, let's say, get 441. I will still need to find out what the denominator is in order to get to the answer. But since all denominators are unique, if I just find the denominator, I should be able to get the answer much faster. But one thing you need to keep in mind here, if supposing the ratio of the numerator and denominator can cancel out, you will get a smaller number that is not the denominator because you'll get cancelled out, right? So the final ratio that is there will be different. But I think most of the times it is worth taking a risk and at least coming to an answer with this. If you spend 10 more seconds, you should be able to get the perfect answer. But since there's no calculator in CET, it's on your decision how much time and how much speed you're going to spend on it, correct? That's the syllabus done, at least from what I remember. If there's anything, leave it in the comments, guys. Please leave some feedback in the comments so I know you guys are enjoying it. It's helpful to you because I personally do not know whether what I say is going to be helpful unless you guys tell me that it's useful. So leave likes, leave comments, tell me something, tell me it helped you out. Leave anything. I don't care who you are or what it is, but if it helps you, just tell me. As I mentioned in the earlier live as well, I'll be the happiest if you guys work and get into JB and you come there and you tell me that I got into JB because we had seen your videos and we had helped you, whatever. Even if it's just listening to YouTube videos or just you've seen one video as well, you think it's useful, please leave a comment so that we know that it's useful. We are not monetizing our videos. Comments and likes do not matter to us otherwise, but please tell us so that we know that it's useful. Some pointers to keep in mind. I've discussed this with Ankit as well. He's also given a couple of pointers. This was his pointer. Do not wait until the last minute. We've learned this the hard way. We've taken mocks where we've left 1 minute for marking educated guesses, or 2-3 minutes. The first time I did this, I had around 5 minutes left for the paper. I decided to solve something properly. 2 minutes were left. Then I started marking flukes. Then I didn't have time to do it properly. But this was a mock, so it didn't make a difference. And at that time, I was marking flukes and not educated guesses. And the reason I was marking flukes was because I didn't have time to make educated guesses. If you've gone through how much time it takes to think about this as well, you would realize that it takes time in the paper as well to think. So do not wait until the last minute. Do not wait until the last 5 minutes as well. I think as much time as you can give. For me, I used to attempt verbal and abstract as and when I saw it. If I saw it that, yeah, this is something I won't be able to solve, even if I give it 10 minutes more, mark it and go ahead. Mark it for review and go ahead. That's what I used to do. So I know that if I have time, I'll come back to it. But otherwise, just let it be. Just mark it and go ahead. You don't have time to do this in the final exam. So that's why the next point is very important. Practice in mocks from today. From the time you're seeing this video, practice taking mocks for CET'21. For CET'22, it's too far away. Do not mark answers right now. But for CET'21, please start marking answers in mocks. You need to get used to leaving time for this, because on the final day, you don't want to be the person who leaves a single question empty on the last day. Okay, you need to, when you leave the center, you need to see 200 questions attempted, everything. You need to make sure you attempted 200 questions on the last day. Do not be the person who attempts even 199 questions or even lesser. Even 199 is a crime. Attempt that extra question. There is no negative marking. Attempt it and come. 20% probability is good if you have 10 seconds left. Anything is worth it, rather than a 0% probability that you'll get if you do not attempt it. So remember that. Practice in mocks is the main thing that is there. And we've learned this the hard way because as I explained, we've had experiences where we've left it and did not work out. And the main thing that I want to mention over here is the passive mocks to make it better. But since there is only 1 week left, I've been explaining passive mocks each and every time we've had a meeting. But passive mocks for now has to be, you can take probably only one passive mock. Passive mock is something where you don't care about the score that you're going to give, that you get in the exam. You just take a mock to see how much you can score without paper, to see how much you can score without trying to write down everything that is there, without trying to, just looking it up, without trying to think too much about the question that is in front of you. Just look at the question, think about the things that I've said, eliminate options, use divisibility tests, try putting the options into the question, try solving it that way, which you can do in quants, logical, anywhere. Like you can just try putting options and seeing whether it makes sense or not. Anywhere that is there, this is a passive mock. Get used to it. There are a couple of people, a couple of TTP students who have been taking passive mocks constantly because they've been watching our videos. We've had sessions with them. We've told them to take passive mocks. So I know there are people who are taking passive mocks, and I hope, and I know it has been useful to them. They have given me feedback saying it's useful. But since only 7 days are left, guys, I suggest take one passive mock. At least get used to it. Get used to the idea of it. If you have questions about passive mocks, please leave it in the comments. But please be a little bit more descriptive about what you want to ask. Because if I had to type out the question, type out an explanation, this is what I would explain. You do not care about the marks, just solve questions to solve questions without using paper. That's all I can say. These are the main pointers to keep in mind when it comes to how to increase your marks, how to make educated guesses. Coming back to this is the biggest question that's on your mind right now: how to increase your score, how to make educated guesses. Remember this, it is a very powerful thought experiment that is there. If you're able to utilize this to the maximum in the next few days now, look at the way you can increase your marks. It is a drastic improvement, even 15 marks extra, just by attempting better. Just by attempting the flukes better is a huge improvement in score. To sum it up, increase this, and then try to keep this increasing. That's all for now. I think it's already become a pretty long video. And thank you guys for watching. Please, I am saying this again, please leave comments so that we know you guys are enjoying this content. Please leave comments saying what you want, what you would like to see more in the future of. In the next 7 days, we are here to help you guys. We are here tirelessly working. We are going to help you guys here through this. It's a shock to us as well that it's come out so close. But since we cannot complain, just keep at it. And we are here to help you guys. Please drop in comments, likes, everything that is there. Here to help you guys. And yeah, all the best. See you guys in JP soon. Hope to see you soon. Genuinely, it'll be amazing if you guys make it. But yeah, all the best, guys, and take care.